Well, hello and welcome to session 20 of the 5-Minute Bible Guides. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm experimenting with green screen here, so just bear with me. We'll see how this goes. In session 19, we talked about whether the Bible has errors and contradictions in it. In this session, we're going to be discussing whether other ancient documents confirm the biblical record. So one of the common criticisms of Bible skeptics is that you just cannot accept the Bible record because it cannot be confirmed with other ancient records. Skeptics often make the claim that the Bible is more or less just a collection of myths and made-up stories that ancient Israelites and early Christians concocted to make their message seem true. Others claim that in places the Bible may be based on true happenings, but that major exaggerations and embellishments were added later. Skeptics often demand hard evidence to prove the Bible's claims. The funny thing is that hard evidence often does show up after skeptics dismiss some portion of the Bible as unconfirmed myth. Here's a sampling of evidence confirming the testimony of the Bible from the traditions of diverse groups of people around the world. Well, let's start with the global phenomenon of flood legends. A wide variety of cultures scattered around the world from Ireland to Polynesia provide evidence through their stories, through their mythologies and oral traditions that lend credence to the concept of a catastrophic flood in early human history, much like the account given in Genesis chapters 6 through 9. Now, not all of the details are consistent from group to group, story to story, but the main elements of a great flood, a few people saved along with animals, and the particular culture of that group telling the story arising from the survivors remains pretty constant. Something to think about. Then there are what linguists call the Indo-European language family. These languages stretching from India in the east to Portugal in the west include the Latin-based languages like Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, as well as the Germanic, Celtic, Slavic, Iranian, and Indic language families. The commonalities between these languages in this big language family with the subfamilies, all of these commonalities show a clear common origin around 5,000 years ago with a parent language where all of these languages came from. Other language families such as the Nilo-Semitic and the Altaic families can also trace common origins to the same period. They're not in the same family as the Indo-Europeans, but they go back to the same period. It seems like they were language speakers who then branched out all over the world about 5,000 years ago. Well, so what? Well, so what is that the Bible tells us that that's what happened. In Genesis 11, it tells us, 10 and 11, it tells us that the nations of the ancient world began to separate and disperse across the globe around that same time because of a divergence in what? Language. Again, something to think about. Well, how about the Middle East as the cradle of civilization? The early chapters of Genesis tell us that Mesopotamia, roughly Iraq and Syria, was the region where the first human civilization began, also around 5,000 years ago. A little bit less, maybe. Archaeology seems to confirm this picture. Well, now for some actual documents that support the Bible. In 1974, a collection of clay tablets called the Ebla Tablets were discovered in Syria. What they did was to confirm numerous names of places and personal names that are mentioned in the earliest portions of the Old Testament. Places like Joppa, Sidon, and even Sodom and Gomorrah are mentioned in these non-biblical texts, as well as names like Esau, David, Saul, and Ishmael, all Bible names. The Nuzi tablets, first discovered in 1925 in northern Iraq, also confirm many details of ancient Middle Eastern life and custom that were shared by the ancient Israelites. For example, customs such as children by proxy, having children by proxy, as practiced by Sarah and Abraham. The importance of household idols from the story of Jacob and Rachel. Levirate marriage, the marriage of a brother to a sister-in-law when the sister-in-law's husband dies. That was also practiced. It's reminiscent of Ruth and Boaz. How about the deathbed blessings given, such as the one given by Jacob to his sons in Egypt? All of these were common features of ancient life in the Middle East, and they're confirmed by documents outside the Bible. Then there are the Amarna Letters, discovered in Egypt in 1887. These record the presence in Canaan of a group of invaders called the Hapiru, or maybe the Hebrews, in the 14th century BC. In these Amarna Letters, a group of Canaanite rulers were appealing to their Egyptian overlord to come to their defense against the Hapiru, who were gaining territory at their expense. This time frame is approximately the same as the traditional date for the Israelite conquest of Canaan after they came out of Egypt. Also, the Bernapta Stella, discovered in 1896 in Egypt, makes reference to the presence of Israel as an established entity in the land of Canaan in the 1200s BC. It fits pretty much with what the Bible says. Then there's the seal of Baruch. In the book of Jeremiah chapter 36 verse 4, the name of Jeremiah's scribe or secretary is given to us. He's called Baruch, son of Neriah. In the past, skeptics made the claim that no independent evidence existed outside the Bible that this person ever existed. But there actually was some independent written evidence that they overlooked for Baruch outside the Bible. The ancient Jewish historian Josephus mentions him and says that Baruch was a brother to an official of the Jewish king around 600 BC. Then in 1975, a baked clay seal was discovered in the City of David area of Jerusalem. I should say that these clay seals were used to fashion written scrolls shut and were usually inscribed with, and this one was inscribed with the name Baruch, son of Neriah, the scribe. So there he is. But a second clay seal was discovered in that same area in 1996 with the same inscription. Only this time, the scribe's actual fingerprint is still visible on the seal. So not only is the Bible correct that Baruch was Jeremiah's scribe, but we actually have Baruch's fingerprint. Pretty unusual. So what can we take away from these bits of ancient writings that confirm elements of the Bible? Well, maybe it's this. There actually is a myth concerning the Bible. And that myth is that the Bible is unconfirmed and probably inaccurate. That's the real myth. And yet some people make that claim so easily as if it were some kind of established fact. I can't tell you what to believe. Sure, there are still many undiscovered mysteries and questions about the Bible. But over time, the trend has shown that when the Bible makes claims about people, places, and events, the hard evidence for those claims tends to show up. In the next session, we'll be looking into a topic that is of great interest to many people, and that is, does archaeology confirm or disprove the Bible? Till then, this is Dr. Michael Bogart for the 5-Minute Guides to the Bible. See you next time.